Right, let's talk about Mikel Arteta. I'm doing this video on the close-up camera because I want my face to be in front of you so that you don't misquote my words. I'm not Mikel Arteta out, and I'm no longer Mikel Arteta out. That was a long time ago. Right about now, I'm on the same boat as the manager, and I really believe in him, and I think his project and whatever he's doing at Arsenal is absolutely all right. I really like whatever Mikel Arteta is doing at Arsenal. I think he has brought us from a long, deep hole into a very good position. We are in a very good position, courtesy of Mikel Arteta. The way he has changed the management, the way he has changed the vibe around the team, the culture, the players, the selection, and everything is absolutely very, very good. But is Mikel Arteta very arrogant? Is he overthinking the tactics, at times at Arsenal? And probably the big question we've got to ask is, does he pick some players even when they're not actually performing well, even when they prove him they're not that good, even when the team really shows they're the only players that are not doing well, does he continue picking them? And will that hurt Arsenal in the end? Will that hurt Arsenal at the end of the day? That's what we want to talk about. So I don't want to classify Mikel Arteta among the top 10 or top 20 or top 5 managers. That is not what I want to do. Honestly, this is my honest opinion. I don't think Mikel is top 5 manager in the Premier League. It's my opinion, and I know we might disagree, and we are going to disagree. But he's not top 5 managers in the league. He's not top 5. I think he's top 10. I think he's around there. But I think Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp are in a very different tier, in a very different hierarchy. And then above him, in my opinion, is managers like De Zerbi and Eddie Howe and Erik ten Hag. Definitely, I do put Erik ten Hag above him. And in that third kind of tier is where I would put Mikel Arteta and Ange Postecoglou, managers that can change the culture, can change the vibe around the club, and maybe Pochettino as well. And they could win things here and there, but they're not top managers. Actually, when I look at Mikel Arteta, I just think of Mauricio Pochettino. Now, he's not a top manager for me. He's not top 5. He's not, he's not an elite manager. And we've got to work with that. As Arsenal fans, as a fan base, we know that we have a manager who is younger. We know we have a manager who has not fully formed into what he will become. We don't have the future, the future Mikel Arteta. We have the now Mikel Arteta, the novice, the manager that has never managed anywhere apart from Arsenal, the manager who is in his 4th consecutive campaign at Arsenal, the manager who has actually spent $500 million, and the expectations of the club, of him, are not to win the Champions League, are not to defend the Premier League, but are to continue going and growing this young side. So you can understand the kind of manager we have. So what I want us to talk about today is the team selection, arrogance, and at times complacency of Mikel Arteta. Today we played Tottenham Hotspur at the Emirates Stadium. Good game. Nothing wrong about that game. Nothing wrong about the performance from both sides. Absolutely very good game. Absolutely very, very tactical encounter. Ange Postecoglou really set out very well. And Mikel Arteta also really set out very well as well. So I don't have a problem with either of the managers. But I have questions. And these questions do not stem from this game alone. They also come from a little bit further back. When Mikel Arteta brought in Kai Havertz, I actually said that you've got to give Kai Havertz some time as a new player, as a new Arsenal player, the system, and wherever we are actually doing, he will take some time to actually come around. And I still stand by that. I think Kai will come good. It's going to take some time. Today, he was absolutely he was non-existent. There was nothing for him to do when he came on. Right? But I don't have a problem with that because I know Kai will eventually come around. That is how Fabio Vieira was until Fabio Vieira became a really consistent performer for us in this campaign. My problem with Mikel is when you play Eddie Nketiah against Tottenham Hotspur and he plays a very, very stinking 45 minutes and you leave him on. So let's talk about the Eddie decision. So first and foremost, he plays Eddie and Gabriel Jesus because he doesn't have as many options as he had a week ago, 2 weeks ago, even in midweek. Leandro Trossard is injured, and therefore all you have is Reece Nelson, Eddie Nketiah, and Gabriel Jesus. And I understand why he plays Eddie over all these other options because, for example, Reece Nelson is not as fit as Jesus and Nketiah. He's not as ready as those two. And I don't think he is in form and ready to play in a North London derby coming from the back of having no league action at all. So you understand why he plays Eddie centre forward and he plays Gabriel Jesus left wing, because they've got the versatility to play there and they've got the complementarity and the ability to complement each other. I understand the decision is not wrong, and I will stand behind the manager against anyone who says, well, we shouldn't have played Eddie. Should have played Eddie, no problem, because Eddie has had match fitness. He's played 4 consecutive Premier League games for Arsenal, and he's been actually having a very good start to the campaign, scoring already and also assisting as well. So I wouldn't say Eddie is having the worst campaigns of his life. But at 45 minutes, Mikel Arteta had established 2 things. One, Arsenal were lacking a middle presence, and that was courtesy of Eddie Nketiah being out of the game, but also Gabriel Jesus drifting towards the left. The second thing is Arsenal were lacking a real threat on the left-hand side, because Gabriel Jesus was there just to occupy this place. He wasn't there to be as effective as Martinelli or Leandro Trossard, and therefore he wasn't as effective. So we wanted a left winger, and we wanted someone to occupy the central zones. I thought the easy thing would have been bringing a player like Havertz or bringing a player like Reece Nelson in the second 45 minutes and let Jesus drift centrally. What he did, he actually brought the same lineup in the second half unchanged, and at some point in time, he takes off Gabriel Jesus, probably to manage him, probably to not to escalate his knee and situation, which I totally get. But he takes off Gabriel Jesus and he leaves on Eddie Nketiah. It doesn't make sense. Even when you're doing it tactically, even when it is a tactical decision, doesn't make any sense. Why? It doesn't make any sense because Eddie is absolutely having the worst nightmare of a game in his life, in his career. It doesn't work because Eddie is not pressing. Eddie was not trying to run through on goal. Eddie was not trying to create spaces for other players to run into, and Eddie was not trying to provide service. So, literally, as a striker, as a forward, Eddie Nketiah in this game was doing nothing. So I don't understand how a player doing nothing stays on the pitch as Gabriel Jesus comes off. That is arrogance from the manager for me, right? You've decided you want to go with the tactical mastermind and the tactical board that you have over on the bench, as opposed to what the evidence you're seeing is observable. It's easy. You could easily see that the partnership between Odegaard, Eddie Nketiah, Saka is not working out. You've got to take him off. As simple as that. And that is one of the reasons why Arsenal really struggled in the final third. Eddie was not providing the team with the minerals and the prerequisites to get into that final third. And Mikel Arteta failed to see that, or he saw that and decided, I'll just keep him on. I'm the manager. I think tactically it's working out for me. I'll just keep him on. I didn't understand that. I really didn't. So that is number one. Number two, Kai Havertz introduced in the game and Fabio Vieira is taken out. As far as I understand, Fabio Vieira is not taken out for precautionary reasons. He's taken out for tactical reasons. So because Rice picks up an injury, he decides to go with a perceived much more physical player, a player who can win duels, a player who can put in some kind of physicality over Fabio Vieira, who actually, for me, is a much better creative player than Kai Havertz. I disagree. I totally disagree with that decision. He had a howler in this game. Mikel had an absolute howler in this game. I think Fabio Vieira should have stayed on. He would have made Odegaard better. And in terms of getting players to drop deep, I think Odegaard already does that. So Odegaard and Jorginho could have formed the double midfield pivot, and And Fabio Vieira, who is absolutely brilliant, could have actually come on, stayed on to give you that number 10 kind of vibe because he has created as many chances as we know he can. So again, I didn't understand that, right? I really didn't understand that. And that's the point, and that's the whole point of this video. Is Mikel Arteta capable of competing with the two gaffers on top? Is he capable of competing with Jurgen Klopp now that Klopp has the resources? And is he capable of competing with Pep Guardiola? Because we know Pep Guardiola is a tactical mastermind. He will always switch it up. He'll always turn things around, and he already has the backing, right? He already has the backing from from the club. I don't think Mikel Arteta has got the character, has got the right mentality as a young manager to compete. I just don't say it. I'm not, like I said, I'm not Arteta. I don't think we would get a much better manager. I really don't think so. Unless if you're going to bring in Zidane. I don't think there's so many I don't think there's so many much better managers than Mikel Arteta. But he's going to keep us in that equilibrium state. You go to the Champions League like almost on a season basis. You go to the Champions League on every season basis, but you don't win the Premier League. You don't win the Champions League, but you could win the FA Cup and you could win the Carabao Cup. That is what Arsene Wenger did. He won almost 7 or 8 FA Cups. That's what Arsene Wenger was doing. So in Mikel Arteta, what we want and what Arsenal had thought they had achieved is a young manager you build around in order for him to go ahead and win. Right? You go and win the Premier League, you go and win the Champions League. I don't think that's Mikel Arteta. I don't think, because for a manager to do that, you've got to drop all your arrogance. You've got to drop all your, personal barriers, attitudes, feelings. You've got to detach. I don't think he is detached. I think he's so much attached as a manager. Spending 75 million on Kai Havertz and spending 30 million on David Raya, that is 100 million. That gets you a top striker, and that puts us in a very different situation. I don't think it's a wrong decision to go for those two players. I just think David Raya, good player. I don't think we really desperately needed a goalkeeper for that amount, especially if he's coming in on loan. And then I don't think Arsenal really needed an expensive Kai Havertz. I don't think so. I really just don't think so. So for me, Mikel is going to become a sweet David Moyes. So what David Moyes ended up becoming at Everton was a manager that could challenge for the top 4, couldn't win the top 4, but could challenge for the top 4 always. He was always there, right? He was always fighting, was always, trying to push. I think it's going to become a high-class David Moyes. A high-class David Moyes in the sense that he always qualifies for the top 4, but he doesn't win it. It doesn't win the Premier League. He always tries to put in a threat for the Champions League, the Premier League, but he doesn't win it. That is what he's going to become, because he must have that ruthlessness. And we've talked about ruthlessness, but I don't think he's ruthless as a manager. I don't think he's ruthless to himself. He's ruthless to players, but I don't think he's ruthless to himself. If you're a person who is ruthless to yourself, you've got to understand, I like Eddie, but Balogun is better. So therefore, I made a mistake giving Eddie 100,000 a contract per week. I've got to let him go. I've got to find a much better player. And that player is Florian Balogun. I thought, and I still think, Florian Balogun is going to be the profile. The profile from Florian Balogun is what Arsenal are going to sign in the phase 5 in the next summer. That's the same kind of player. So for me, I'm really worried about Mikel. I'm really worried. I don't think he will get sacked because he's going to keep on getting these consistent good results. Like this season, Arsenal could get to 90 points or 88. Next season, Arsenal could get to 91 or 93, but that doesn't win you the league, and that doesn't beat Liverpool, and that doesn't beat Manchester City. So, in a humble way, I would stick with him for 7-8 years and win nothing, because I know Arsenal will be playing at the top. But I won't be surprised if he wins absolutely nothing. It's the arrogance for me. It's the arrogance. Look, top managers realize mistakes. Top managers identify mistakes, and they work on them and they deal with them. I don't think Mikel Arteta, as a top manager, is willing to identify the mistakes in his team and actually work on them. I just don't think, as a top manager, he's willing to do that, right? He sees the mistakes, but he's not willing to address them. I just don't see. I just don't see it in him, right? I've looked at some of the top managers in Ancelotti. I've looked at some of the top managers in Pep, Guardiola, and they have their arrogant moments. Like, he let go of Cancelo, like that. No big explanations. But he won the treble after that. So he's got the ability to sniff out danger. He's got the ability to self-appraise and go, okay, I do not think my decision was right, and therefore I'll switch things up. I don't think Mikel Arteta has got that in him. However much he's a good character, he's a good manager, and he might win 1 or 2 trophies, he won't make Arsenal Manchester City. He won't make Arsenal. He won't get to the levels of Arsene Wenger. I don't think he will get there. Because although Wenger didn't have the money, he could rub you the right way as a top manager. He would really. But I want your thoughts there. I really, really do. I might be wrong. I might be a little bit overstretched. But I just don't see him as a top quality manager. I just don't see him as a manager that goes 3 Premier Leagues, 2 Champions Leagues, 3 FA Cups, and 2 Carabao Cups. I just don't see him in. I just don't see such kind of decoration in his gallery. But I could see 1 Premier League, a Carabao Cup, and maybe 3 FA Cups. That is Arsene Wenger. Without that is less than what Arsene Wenger achieved without resources. So with £500 million spent in less than a decade, or less than half a decade, you expected to do more. And I don't think he's going to do more. I just don't think. I think as a manager, he's got flaws, and it might take 10, 15 years for him to get rid of those flaws. By the time he wants to become Carlo Ancelotti, it might be too late. It might just be too late. But I want your thoughts there, guys. I really, really do. I want your thoughts on Mikel, and I want you to let me know. Is he a top gaffer? Is he top 5? I just don't think he's top 5. Like, honestly, I don't think he's top 5. I think he is below. Even with all the time at Man United, for me, he's below Ten Hag. He's below Eric Ten Hag. He's below De Zerbi. He's below Klopp. He's below Pep at the moment. He's below Eddie Howe at the moment, because what he's done in 4 years, Eddie Howe has done in 1.5. So he's below Eddie Howe for me. I kindly think he's below Unai Emery, because Emery is a guaranteed winner. He's a proven winner as well. And Emery has been at Arsenal. And probably that's where he will have an edge on Emery, probably, because he will go, well, whatever Emery failed to do, I've done. But then Emery has taken over a rubbish, not really very much rubbish, but a bad Aston Villa side, and he's turned them around. And now they look good. They're much better, right? So talk to me, guys. Talk to me in the comment box below. Talk to me. I could be overreacting here. I could be. But as well, looking at using the huge prism and the one, that kind of lens that you could have a sneak peek in the future. I don't think we have a manager at our hands that is going to be a winner. I just also don't think we are going to get rid of him, because his performances are definitely that good.